Happy Holy Hump Day on this October 14th, everyone. I'm Pastor Robert, and welcome to this midweek opportunity where I can just share some spiritual reflections and thoughts with you. And so today I just thought I would spend some time more like in a Bible study, just sharing with you some reflections and thoughts about the Gospel of John. I just think the Gospel of John is incredible because, first of all, a lot of Bible scholars notice that he has a very high sense of a development of theology in his writing, where he is describing Jesus in a way that connects with the Old Testament. And I think that happens a lot when we're reading about Jesus in the Gospels or in the New Testament. There are these connections with the Old Testament, and that's why it's so important for us to know the Old Testament, to see how Jesus is living out the Jewish faith through his life, death, and resurrection. And John does such a great job with this. And the connection he makes very specifically in his gospel is with the book of Genesis, and specifically the creation story. So that's what I wanted to kind of walk through briefly with you today on this Holy Hump Day. And so if you remember the creation story, the Bible begins with these words, Genesis 1:1, in the beginning, when God created the heavens and the earth. So it all starts there, in the beginning, when God created the heavens and the earth. And then if you go to the Gospel of John, the beginning of John's Gospel is like a retelling of this creation story. So let me go to chapter 1 of John. Notice how the beginning of his Gospel begins there in chapter 1, verse 1. John writes, in the beginning was the Word. And so anybody that would have been listening to this story, especially in the time of Jesus, when John was circulating these stories about Jesus and it ended up becoming the Gospel of John, would have seen the connection with the creation story. In the beginning, God created. And here we begin his gospel with, in the beginning was the Word. So what John, the gospel writer, is doing is setting it up in his gospel and telling the story of Jesus, that Jesus has some part in this new telling of God's creation. And that's just an awesome kind of thing. So in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things came into being through him, and without him not one thing came into being. What has come into being in him was life, and the life was the light of all people. So John's using these words of light and life, again, echoing the creation story, which emphasizes light and life. So anyway, so that is how John's gospel begins, by tying it in with the creation story from the book of Genesis. And now I'm going to go to toward the end of John's gospel, John chapter 19, when we get to the arrest of Jesus, the crucifixion of Jesus, and the resurrection of Jesus, to also see how the gospel writer John is tying in this particular story of Jesus again with the creation story found in Genesis 1. So you have Pilate, who was the one that made the verdict for Jesus to be crucified. Well, in John chapter 19, Pilate presents Jesus, and here's how the verse is, verse 5 of John 19. So Jesus came out wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe. Again, the soldiers had mocked Jesus, and Pilate said to the people, "Here is the man." Or another version, Bible version says, "Behold the man." So I want you to think about the creation story, since John does connect his gospel with the creation story. So you have every day of the week as part of the creation story. And in the Jewish weekly calendar, the first day of the week starts on Sunday. We think of it as Monday because the work week starts on Monday for us. But in the Jewish world, really it was Sunday, the beginning of the week. So Sunday was the first day of creation. Second day of creation was Monday. and then Tuesday, third day of creation, and so on and so forth, until you get to Friday, the sixth day of creation, and that is when God created man. And so then in John's telling of this crucifixion story, Pilate presents Jesus, behold the man. And that happens to be on Friday, which is the sixth day of creation. So John is really paralleling the story of Jesus with the creation story as Pilate presents him on that sixth day, which was a Friday, which we call Good Friday. Then Jesus ends up, being crucified at the hands of the Romans. And then the seventh day of creation is when God rested. So we read that in the creation story in the book of Genesis, that God rested on the seventh day. And notice what happens in the John's telling of the story of Jesus. He was crucified on Friday, and then on Saturday he was placed in a tomb, and he rested there. Jesus' body rested in a tomb on that Sabbath or Saturday. And so again, he's paralleling the story of creation. And so far we have Friday, man was created. Pilate on Good Friday presents Jesus as behold the man. Saturday is when Jesus' body is placed in a tomb. And we also think back to the creation story where God rested on the seventh day after he created the world. So that's Saturday. And then Sunday is when Jesus, the tomb was empty and Jesus rose again. And Sunday begins the week again, right? That would be the beginning of a new week. And John saw Easter Sunday as like a new creation. And he saw it as like an eighth day of creation. And so there you have it. You have John, the gospel writer, retelling the creation story from the book of Genesis through the person of Jesus, specifically through his crucifixion on the cross on a Friday, and then rested in a tomb on a Saturday, being raised again on a Sunday, and reminding us of new creation. And of course, he begins his gospel with in the beginning, and that's the way the creation story starts as well. So I just wanted to share that. I just have found that always incredible. So sometimes we think of the gospel writers as just strictly writing down the chronological events of Jesus' life, but all four of them, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, are telling the story in a particular way related to Israel's history, related to the Old Testament. And that is just so happens to be John's way of how he tells the story of Jesus, by using the creation story found in the book of Genesis. So I hope you have found that to be kind of interesting and thought-provoking. And there's always, something new we can learn about our faith and the scriptures. So I hope you've enjoyed that. So wanted to share with you this past Sunday for our online worship. We were continuing our Come to the Water fall series, and our focus was on giving our offerings to Christ and the church. And that just so happened to be the 39th anniversary of when our church held a mortgage burning. And Reverend Jim Wagner was the pastor at that time. So that must have been such a special event. After 23 years, it took them to pay off this current building, because as you know, the building before it was destroyed by a fire, 1955. This church got built and was ready to be used in 1958, and then they paid it off in 1981. And so what a glorious day that must have been. So we celebrated the 39th anniversary of that occasion this past Sunday through our online worship service. So I just think that's worth noting again. And, we always are thankful for those who have gone before us and who have been generous in their giving. And it just motivates me even more to continue the great legacy, the great history we have, since this is our 220th anniversary this year, dating back to 1800 when we were first formed as a congregation here in Athens. So this Sunday, for our online worship, we're continuing our Come to the Water series by focusing on giving others a drink. And what does that mean for us to serve in the name of Christ and share our faith in Christ with others? So we're going to be reflecting on that this Sunday for our online worship. Hope you have a great remainder of your Holy Hump Day, and look forward to you joining us for our online worship this Sunday, and then for our Holy Hump video next week. God bless you.